As a family, we've been farming for 400 years, 4 generations in the location where the distillery is at Lunan Bay on Scotland's sunny east coast. As a business, our aim is to be one of the world's most sustainable distilleries. We're on a journey and making good progress on that journey, having created the world's first climate positive gin and vodka, and will very soon become the world's first green hydrogen powered distillery. We've created a Nadar gin, or a science project that wanted to prove you could distill with legumes, mainly because with legumes you're getting a free nitrogen fix. It takes carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, and we wanted to prove you could distill with it. So a laboratory project for PhD became a commercial project, and the rest is history. It's the only one, as far as I'm aware, in the world, and it's, the life cycle analysis was done by Trinity College Dublin and Bangor University. You have a doctor and a professor working on it, and that's very real and not ethereal. It's very much a case of something substantive. Just as now we're working with Locogen and Logan Energy to create the world's first green hydrogen powered distillery. So using free renewable wind power, electrolyzer, and we move away from the fossil fuels that we're using just now because we're a rural distiller, and it'll have a significant impact both for ourselves but also for the distilling industry, and thinking outside that box for any factory or production site that wants to use or potentially use green hydrogen. Arbikie has been actively exporting we are soon to be 9 years old, so we've probably spent the last 5 to 6 years exporting. In terms of the process, in the first few years we concentrated on the domestic UK market. We treated London as our first export market, mainly because a lot of the international brands, the hotels, the restaurants and everything are in London, so it gives us a chance to start with those organisations. And in terms of the path over, say, the last 5 or 6 years, we firstly concentrated on Europe, then North America, then Middle East, and now we're very much working on the Asian markets. Recently, we signed a 50-state distribution deal across the US, so that's a major turning point and a change for us because it allows us to work with across the whole of the US, including Hawaii, for example, with some of the national hotel chains, because we can do distribution. Previous to that, we started working with Whole Foods when we launched Nadar Gin, our climate positive gin and vodka, and they went into 23 stores, I think it was, in California. That's now listed across all of the US. And instead of having 2 SKUs, the gin and the vodka with Nadar, they've also taken the rye and our original vodka and another gin, Kirsty's Gin. So that's that success, and ultimately working with the hotel chains that we do, because we'll tend to work with Hilton, Marriott, Accor and others, and that allows us to be working in they'll sectorize by the Americas or Middle East, Europe and Africa, or in Asia. So it allows us to internationalize across a number of markets. Creating a startup business is always challenging. Finance is always an issue. We are self-financed. We're a family business. It's a legacy business. And so we'll tend to build the business over the long term, because we're not building to sell, we're building to pass on to the next generation. So we'll very much view what we're doing as custodians. As I was saying before, we've had 400 years of farming. So we'll always approach it that way, as both a white spirit or a gin and vodka and a whiskey business. Whiskey is very much a decades and centuries business. So, maturing whiskey takes probably at least a decade. And so you're selling over a long period of time. So financing that is a challenge. More immediately, probably Brexit's been a huge challenge in alcohol. A huge amount of Scotch is sold into the EU mainland. So that's been a challenge. Solution, we have warehousing out of Amsterdam, so we'll often supply our EU customers out of Amsterdam because it's in the EU, and it helps simplify and speed up that process, because you want to continue supplying your customers on a regular basis and in a controlled basis, because the paperwork and the difference that's created is challenging. I think also just time and cost investment in terms of developing new markets, a very expensive way. It's very expensive in terms of both costs for hotels and travel, but also in terms of time if you're a growing startup business. That's a real challenge. But solutions, I think lockdown created one of the solutions, and we're using it right now. If you're using something like Zoom and Teams, you're allowed to have, you can easily have a free conversation with someone anywhere on the planet. And in terms of, if you've done your research with exporting and you worked out who your potential partners are, you can always have a conversation or many conversations to find out actually if you are compatible and what you want to do and what they want to do. And we very much work through the distributor channel, is you can learn whether the relationship's working and qualify a lot of things before you actually meet the person, whereas in the past you probably would have gone to meet them in market. And I think that's been one of the benefits of lockdown, kind of a hybrid exporting. And I think, I'd always recommend that to anyone, is having the conversations online, because a 20-minute conversation with China or Hong Kong is 20 minutes. It's not flying for whatever amount of hours, staying in a hotel, the cost, the time and everything else. And actually you get to know the people, and that helps you build a relationship even before you're thinking about transactions. I think the important thing with export is it's there, it's doable. Most important thing is to do all the research, is know your markets, and also ask people in the same industry for advice. Ask them for help and networks, because I do that. I'll go to people I know who are maybe at competitors or friends or whatever and go, who would you recommend? I think simple things like that, and using Zoom and the free technologies to engage with people and learn more. And there's loads of agencies that help and who are in markets, so talking to them and using those free resources. We're a small startup, we do what we can do, but then online the research is doable. There's so much help out there. It's just going and finding that help and engaging and spending that time, because an online conversation can be very focused. There's no travel involved, so you're just learning and asking questions. And I think being inquisitive and being open-minded, because the country has amazing quality and the world wants it. The world knows there's good quality from here, so you find the markets where your products fit, or where similar products are fitting just now, and start the conversations. If you want to do it, you can polish for so long, but actually the main thing is to just go and start talking to people.